Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. I hope it's not too much disturbing, but there is again a lot of noise from the construction that is still going on just beside our compound. It just started to make big noise when I came to start the Satsang. Okay, let's hope it doesn't go on forever. I just recently uploaded a clip that Murray prepared from an old Satsang. It was about the fear of letting go. And then somebody wrote me in that context that he is experiencing how the personality is unraveling, the different aspects, the different roles that are being played. But then there is some basic personality that holds it all together. And recently in a meditation that started to dissolve. And it felt great, but then the fear came because it felt like dying, not a painful physical death, but dying. And then he tried to deal with that fear, asking questions, who is dying, but wondering whether asking question is the right way or it's the right question. But one aspect is fully eager and excited for that experience and to go further, and the other aspect is terrified that it could go further. It's a difficult thing to resolve, that is for sure. And the thing is, it's not that we have to somehow find the right magical question in such a situation. There's not that right magical question. It is simply a tool, the question. Who am I? Or in that situation, who is saying? Who is thinking? Who is a tool. And it's not a question of finding the top right question in the right situation to do the job. It's the question is a tool to turn the attention in the right direction. And if then in a situation rather the doubt comes in whether the question is right or wrong, then actually it failed its purpose. Then the intellectual activity starts, and that is a place where the intellect can not more help. So if that is rather a tendency that doubts like this come, maybe better not to ask the question. Yes, there is fear. There is fear of dying. Dying means letting go of what we know and opening to what we are not aware of, that we are not in control of, opening up to the unknown. And something wants to hold on to the known because it gives us a sense of security. It's a false sense of security, but still We have developed that in the personality when we think we know what's going on, when we understand, when we are on top of the situation, we feel secure. But of course, it's a false security that we have created in our mind. But still, when there comes the moment and one feels that it's going to dissolve, even if intellectually we accept, okay, there's nothing wrong, it's good that it goes, then emotionally, energetically, that block comes, that fear comes, doesn't want to let go. And then getting into an intellectual dilemma, do this, do that, that doesn't help. It's also another way to keep us in the same place. Try intellectually to keep on holding on to that which we know, somehow hoping to dissolve and still somehow keeping that me personality together. But that me personality is a construct. The I is prior to that, and it cannot dissolve. The I goes and the I remains. You cannot do then in a situation like this, when you feel this, the process is there. It's dissolving. To make an effort to continue doing so, to make the right effort. It's more that there comes that moment of surrender and acceptance. Okay, the fear is there. Let it be there. It's an experience. It's an emotion. Don't fight against the fear. Watch the fear. Watch it right now. What is it doing? Not start to analyze and explain. Simply watch what is happening. And then it loses its sting. And we can relax. And in that relaxing, we are making ourselves available that something can happen over which we don't have any control whatsoever. Even the one who has approached purely on the jnana marga, on the way where the intellect is used, the focus on consciousness, the intellect is used to always bring the attention back in the right direction. At that moment, that intellect is not more in any way useful. And even the person on that jnana approach has to surrender, has to let go. And this letting go is something that creates fear. Because exactly, we don't know what's happening then. When we let go the known, oh, what is there then? Nothing bad can happen. But even if we believe that, the emotions may still create a block and it's dangerous. The best way is not to fight against the fear, not to want to do something about it. Just watch it, accept that it's there, and relax. And relax as good as you can. And this very relaxing is the process of letting go. And then it's just a matter of grace. Of course, grace is not something that we can define. It's just a way of telling something is going to happen over which I, as a person, have absolutely no control, where I can do absolutely nothing. What I can do is to do nothing. What I can do is get out of the way. What I can do is accept the situation and let go. And for the mind, and especially for the subconscious mind, it's terrifying because it's a leap of faith into the unknown. So we don't have to fight, we don't have to hold on, we just have to watch what's going on and relax. Accept what's going on and relax. Not looking for the proper top magical question that is maybe doing the thing. I mean, it may happen with somebody that at that moment a question comes like this, and at that moment something is happening, but it's not because that question is specifically magic, but somehow at that time that put that one individual in the right position that something could happen. But when we start to wonder whether it's right or wrong, there we are already in a way closing the door. Letting go seems to be dangerous because we, we think it's dangerous if we are not in control. But our being in control is most of the time an illusion. We may control on the physical level certain things. We may control certain things on the mental level. But as soon as we go to a space that is prior to the mind, subtler than the mind, there is nothing that we as an individual can control. And it's better to accept that, to open up to that, to relax, because you are opening up to your own true nature. And nothing bad or dangerous can come from that side. We cannot really do it, but it's good to remind ourselves to understand as far as we can understand, and then to open up. If we have already that understanding, then gradually that readiness is growing to open up, to go beyond the understanding, to open up to letting go, to really not simply theoretically, but to really let go that greed of wanting to be me in control, because it's there so strong, much stronger than people are aware of. We are just coming home, and home is safe. Nothing bad can happen in our own self, here, now, that which is timeless, spaceless. Prior to being incarnated to birth and death, indestructible. Okay, I stop talking with the subject, and I'm asking you, my friends, is there anybody who is ready to come in? You are welcome to do so.
Hariom, Werner.
Hello, Maria.
Hi. My question is about connected to, I was in an ashram in Bali for a couple of weeks doing a retreat.
Yeah.
Very recently. And I got to experience again some of the delights of community life.
Yeah.
Which is a huge contrast with my life in London, because I live on my own in a flat, small flat.
Yes.
In the middle of a huge city. And there it was, the contact with the community, a very large Balinese community. At the moment, very small number of Westerners, so it's mainly Balinese, and in contact with nature. Mm-hmm. I was barefoot walking 99% of the time.
Yeah.
Swimming in clean waters, sunbathe and under the sun most of the time. It's so healing the experience, apart from obviously the intense discipline of the meditation. And one of the things that I notice even more this time is the rhythm that the community, the Balinese community, has such a lovely rhythm of work and rest. I see them, I mean, it's from outside, obviously you can never judge, but the impression from outside is really good. Is they get up very early, same time, and some of them do the meditation, others just get on with community work. And I see them working with focus, quiet, and then having breaks as well, very naturally. They gather together to have a cup of tea around where they are creating the offerings for the temples, which is a huge activity in the ashram, or where the meals are prepared and there is a lot of peeling, cutting to be done, and it's done in a large table with lots of people. So they do a lot of work consistently throughout the day and day after day, because the life there is nothing to do with ours. I mean, the people I know, they don't go on holiday,
Yes.
And
no
they
need
don't
of
have
holiday.
No, that's the thing, is that they don't seem to get to that point of exhaustion that we seem to get so often.
Yes, yes.
And so some people will go out to the ashram to do some shopping or for some ceremonies, or obviously to see their families, but it's all very, very simple and very local. And when I see them working, I get a lot of inspiration from that rhythm they have.
Yeah.
And it's so far away from what I have. So I wonder whether you could comment on how to adapt some of these things to life in a huge city like London. My job has lots of deadlines, lots of fixed times. There are many months in the year. And transport, you have to be very logistic for transport. So timetabling it's a huge one. And my tendency to lose balance is overdoing things. This is always the case. I mean, I have a very strong Rajasic energy. So I do until I get exhausted. That's my pattern. And I'm just wondering, for example, would it be sensible for me to set myself some fixed? I have the fixed time for meditation is always fixed, and I am good at keeping that. Should I fix myself times for taking some breaks or during the day, or how can I bring more balance to the kind of life I have here? With technology is another big one. I realized when I went there, and obviously I stopped using the mobile only for minor contact with my mother, but stopped completely YouTube, that kind of thing. I thought, God, I get so much stuff in my head when I am at home.
Yeah.
Even if it's very good stuff, because I'm very selective. But still, it's like the amount of things I have in my head unprocessed.
Yeah.
And that I had to empty. It took some time to feel some sense of emptiness. So what I'm trying now is not to fill my cup again here with all this stimulation, and not to override the rhythms of energy, to do and to rest. So it's on that theme. So if you could comment on that, that would be great.
Yes. So obviously the external situation is very different, and you cannot live the life in London with your job the way they live the life in that ashram. But what you can bring into your style of life is that attitude. And I don't know whether it's very useful to make a fixed timetable about breaks, then after that it becomes one stress more. to be able to hold on to that timetable. I think it's good that you have a timetable that you regularly meditate every day. And otherwise you can just make up your mind that you make breaks, and you make those breaks as they come along, as they fit into your activities, and not so much start to make a strict timetable when you have to take break, because then it's defeating its own purpose. Then you have another deadline. Oh, in 10 minutes, I have to take the break. So quickly, quickly, I have to finish something before that. Just bring in as good as you can, as much as you can, that attitude that has inspired you so much there, the naturalness as things come along. But you cannot apply the same external natural happening in your situation because it doesn't fit in there. But you can bring in that attitude that, okay, you just make up your mind that you don't want to do too many things all the time. And then as it comes along, something is done, you need not immediately run, then you take a break. You start to take breaks when they come along, where you simply can be, instead of already planning the next moment, I'm going to do this, but just there, that you have in between times to breathe, and to relax, and to just be, and not to fill the head more, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what about technology? Because I mean, in a way, I see that you seem to lead a very simple life, and at the same time, you've engaged with social media
Yes.
For as part of the work you do. And right now, for me, it's like I spend so many hours when I am at work in front of a screen.
Yeah.
Because technology is big now,
Mm.
even for language learning, for language teaching. We don't do any more admin on paper. Everything is digital.
Yes.
Now we have artificial intelligence coming into play. And again, now training for that. And I also wonder how to take a healthy attitude, because it's not that I want to be completely cut off from
Yeah.
that, but I also see that it also, I can just get carried away with so much clicking here and clicking there.
Yeah, yeah, right. Well, just try to keep it in a reasonable amount. And obviously, in what you are doing as your job, you cannot avoid it. But then that you keep your times in your day exactly when you take your breaks, where you just tell yourself, okay, enough screen for today. Because after all, there is always that radiation, and we have to somehow deal with the effect of it, which is always like a weight, having that. So we can undo it, we can neutralize it, but it's always again a bit the job. I'm not saying you have that many hours or that many hours of screen time. Just maybe make sure that it's not getting more and more and more, and your life is then finally only in front of one screen or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
thank you. I'm also feeling that perhaps what is happening now, I understand better the this kind of classic phases of life that in Hinduism they talk about, that it comes a point where the household lives the family life and goes into retreat in the last part of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
You remember? I think you talked about it once as well.
Yes.
That about the youth period and then the married life and in a way, I mean, it's not that I feel I am in the last part yet, but I also feel that my main interest now is the inner journey, really.
Yes.
So all this new stuff that comes that used to be so exciting before, it doesn't engage me in the same way.
Yes. And maybe you can look at it and discriminate. How much of it do I really need in order to do my job? And if you feel it's not really necessary, you don't have to force yourself to go for every new damn little detail that is possible. Because of course you can spend 24/7 and always there is more new stuff to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make your priorities. Bring that attitude that you so strongly encouraged in the ashram life in your daily life, which is totally externally totally different, but make it also as part of your spiritual journey, that you learn to be connected with yourself no matter what you are doing. And the more you're doing that, the more also harmoniously the external things will adjust themselves. But allow yourself breaks. Not that you need to run all the time. Take a break in between and just remember to be, to breathe, to relax.
Great. I take the prescription.
You are welcome to do so.
Thank you so much, Werner. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
Hariom.
Hariom.
Hariom. Is there somebody else who would like to say something? You're welcome to come in.
Hello.
Hello, Leora.
So this week there was an event with my dog, and I want to try to bring it to a specific question. As the owner, the landlord told me that he wanted me to give her away, he didn't want her any longer. After, of course, he gave me his okay answer when I asked him if I could have her. Now he doesn't want her any longer.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a bit traumatic, the whole experience, because she attacked a rabbit, and it was, yeah, I won't go into all the details.
Right.
So I became, of course, very agitated and very sad. And the main thing is I accepted. I mean, I couldn't argue with him. I accepted. He is the big boss. He's the boss, and it's not fair. It's not nice, whatever. But he's the boss. But the problem is that there are many dogs who look for new homes. And there are more dogs that look for new homes than homes that look for dogs.
Yes.
It's always easy to find a dog. It's not so easy to give away a dog. I mean, to find a home for a dog. So we have all these organizations that take care of dogs. And so it's not that I want to give her up, but my problem is what will happen with her. Meanwhile, there is a neighbor who has a big dog of same kind as she. He's male, she's female, and he's trying to find a way to have them together. Meanwhile, there are the neighbors, and I like them as neighbors in general, and I like my place here, and I want to keep good atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my responsibility because I feel I'm able to somehow do the work as they are less able to do it for their reasons. So my question is whether what you always say about staying connected and relaxed. So I'll be very blunt. Can this change the events? Can this somehow create a situation that it takes time until, of course it will take time, and he knows it. But meanwhile, we move on life and I don't know, whatever. And she stays here.
Yes.
Or if she goes to the neighbor, it will be the best because then I can still see her and take her for walks and whatever. But mostly I want her to be here with me. But the question is whether this kind of, as I described before, be connected, relaxed, can somehow create reality. Very blunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, it has certainly an influence. How we are dealing with the present situation is bringing something into the current of events, which has an influence how the future the events are forming. That the present moment is as it is the result of many different influences that come from all directions, and they converge here and produce this moment. Now, one of those influences is how you have acted in other events that are somehow connected with the present situation. That brings in a special flavor. And how you are dealing now with the situation is having a certain influence how the future event is formed, but it's not the only influence. And so it's not that you can think, if I'm doing this right now, then definitely that will come out of it in the future. Basically, the best influence is, of course, if you are relaxed and connected. That doesn't mean that after that all the events that are forming in future will be according to your liking, that exactly as you wanted it to be, it will happen. But there is a better chance that this is going to happen if you are relaxed. But then be careful that you don't think I'll try to do that in order to get that result, because then you are not really relaxed about it. If you are
No.
then you just try to turn it into a trick.
No, I'm not doing that. I know when I'm relaxed, really relaxed. I'm aware, I'm very aware. And I know when I can't make it up. I can't if I'm relaxed, I'm relaxed. If I'm not relaxed, I know I'm not relaxed.
But
And
what you
there are moments when I feel yeah, it's fine. Something good will come out of this. And I really feel it. And there are moments when I'm in my body, very, very nervous, I would say, and afraid also, and sad. So it's like, yeah, it's both. When I'm this, I'm this. When I'm that, I'm that. Yeah, I
I
can't
mean,
make it up.
you can bring that intention in the current. You can put that ID in the current that may the owner change his mind. But then at the same time, be detached about it, be relaxed about it, not obsessed with it, because there you're bringing something in that creates obstructions. If you are relaxed about it, maybe it has enough, it's enough of an influence that he does change his mind. But even if he does not change his mind, somehow it brings a good influence that you wish well for you and your dog for the future. And that helps that something good can come out of it. Maybe not according exactly to your liking, but maybe sometimes it does work. So you can do so, but without getting obsessed with it, without thinking I must somehow force destiny and the events around. But you can very well give your impulse in it, and then maybe it's materializing.
Yeah, I understand that. It has been like that this week, as you describe it.
Yes.
And I know what I really wish is that, like for her, I wish if she's not with me, I wish she finds, we find something good enough for her.
Yes.
Because no one will be happy if she's here and she's not liked by the neighbors, even if they don't see her so much. Even if I create a situation so that they don't have interaction with her, still the energy is not great. So yeah. So it's not about really it's not about me. It's really about her, and I hope so I understand what you're saying. Basically, I feel I've been like that since it started, so thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Wish you
Hari
well.
Om. Thank you.
Is there somebody else who would like to come? You're welcome.
Hi, Werner. It's Ravi.
Hello, Ravi.
So, my ankles have been a source of pain lately. And the last few years, I've had a lot of bed rest. And I'm kind of moving into the next stage of recovering from the illness, which is building up more exercise, and which will influence my stamina and my strength and has all these extra advantages. But my ankles have become very sore. Maybe it's from the exercise or having bad shoes. And that's been a source of kind of stress, trying to work out what's the matter with the ankles. And I guess my underlying fear is that I don't know when my ankles will get better, and then I'm concerned that all the energy that I've put into exercising, my body will decondition more, because I'm kind of stuck at home now if I can't walk much. I already was at home and I was walking outside of the house, but now I can't even do that much. So just a couple of I know your story is your story, like being in the cave, you had a very different experience from everybody else. But is it possible to, is it possible to feel connected, and for that in itself to create that sense of stamina that you get from exercise? Or do you have to walk and move the heart? Because you spent so long not exercising, I'm wondering if you got deconditioned. But even if somehow you didn't get deconditioned, you were meditating so much, your experience is very different from mine, from staying at home. Anyway, I was just curious about.
Yes. Well, actually, the second time when I was longer in the cave without coming out, by that time I had integrated my body. First, previous, I somehow always wanted to have as little to do with the body as possible, but then there was a shift in the perception that made it clear for me on my path. It's very perfectly all right not to look at the body as something negative, but as a temple of the spirit. And so I integrated the body much more than before. And in my teeny little space, I did some exercise. Not enormous, for sure, but still. Now, each story is different, right? And I don't know exactly your physical condition and how much it is good for you to do exercise and how much not. I'm certainly sure it is good to do some exercise, but maybe not overdo it, that you have to figure out for yourself. You can get a lot of stamina by being alert, and especially if you include the vital force in your alertness. If you include the breath, being aware of the breath, sometimes maybe controlling the breath, and through the breath becoming more aware of the vital energy, then you can get a lot of stamina on all the levels, including the physical, without doing much of physical exercises. Yes, it is possible.
But that, sorry, once again, I'm kind of, I just need to move my computer. Sorry, Werner, just 1 second. Oh, that's all right. I will just kind of lie on my side. You're talking about vital energy there.
Yes.
Is that a very advanced? How would someone who doesn't have much practice? I mean, is that just about connecting, feeling connected, or is that a deeper practice?
It is both. It's not an advanced state or not advanced state. You can connect more with the vital energy no matter where you are. Like you can connect from the beginning, make this your main approach, like yogis are most of the time doing. Or then you can make it your main approach to focus on consciousness, or you can make it your main approach to focus on love. And then you can also combine. And I'm not saying you should now make it into your main approach to focus on the vital force, but somehow integrate it. And the easiest way to integrate, to become aware more of the vital force and integrate it, is starting with being aware of the breath. I'm not saying you start to do now heavy pranayama exercises and control the breath, but the very simple reminder of being aware whatever you're doing, that you are breathing. And when you are aware with the breath, of the breath, automatically one starts to breathe deeper, because people who are not conscious usually breathe extremely shallow. And then if you are aware of breathing without controlling, you start to breathe relaxeder and deeper, and you start to more and more feel with every breath you stimulating the vital force. And the vital force is the base of all the functions in manifestation. The physical functions, the emotional functions, the intellectual functions, everything is based on the vital force. Without that vital force, there is no movement. And it's always there, whether we are aware of it or not, and putting the awareness also on that is certainly helping to heal easier and to have more physical and emotional and intellectual stamina.
And maybe I missed something there, but could one do it? with a mantra?
Sure, you can very
just
well
being
combine
present.
it with you do the mantra, and at the same time you are aware that you are breathing. Nothing difficult about it, nothing wrong with it, but it's very beneficial.
So would I go about and can you do it without breathing and just saying the mantra, or is the vital force connected very much with yeah?
You can do just the mantra without focusing at the same time on the breath. And especially if you are already busy and your attention is already caught up with certain things, then it would become too much to try simultaneously do the mantra and be aware of breathing. But many times your attention may not be so caught up. And then while doing the mantra, you can also be aware of the breath. But doing the mantra consciously is also certainly stimulating the vital force, no doubt.
So the vital force, it seems to me, is more a consequence of connecting to the present, feeling connected to that presence. Is that how one?
I wouldn't say it like that.
No.
No.
Okay.
It's not the vital force, it's a consequence of connecting. The vital force is one of the three aspects how the self, the mystery, that divinity is expressing itself. The base prior to any creation, there is that base, and that is pure consciousness and pure energy and pure love. The three aspects of that first expression, and that is the ground. Out of it comes all. So it's not that we somehow creating the vital force by connecting, it's already there. But we can focus more on other aspects, and then we can include being aware that everything, all the time, every word we say, every thought we think, every action we do is also based on the current of prana. Without the prana, not a movement is there. So it's not a consequence. What is a consequence? That giving attention to it, you become more aware of it, and then that can vitalize all the different levels of manifestation.
Okay. I think I need to actually listen to this recording tomorrow just to soak it in, But if you were to summarize just now, so it sinks into my head, how I increase my stamina, is it more than just saying my mantra and trying to feel connected? Or yes.
I mean, on the physical level, you're certainly well advised to do some exercise, but you have to find how much is good and how much is too much. And to increase a bit that stamina, continue with the practice that you are anyhow doing, but you can experiment a bit to connect the mantra with being aware of breathing. That will start to help you to become more aware of the flow of that vital energy. And by being aware of that flow, automatically that is creating already greater stamina.
And can I do that throughout my day? Like if I'm not doing an activity, if I'm just sitting in the garden, it's just a matter of integrating the word with the in and the out breath, whether my eyes are open or closed, I guess.
Yes, sure. Or walking or doing anything.
Okay, I'm going to play with that.
Yes,
and
you don't have
regards,
to make it.
Yeah.
You don't have to make it in a strain that you now desperately try to do that. But whenever it comes to your mind, do it for some time until you forget it again.
And another thing is I've been like, I'd like to increase how much I meditate in a day, but because of meals and my digestion isn't great, I've heard that, well, I've read that it's good to allow 2 or 3 hours between once you eat and once you meditate. Is that, if I've already got bad digestion, do you think that's something I should honor, or could I actually meditate after an hour of eating my lunch?
I think it's very well okay that you do so, but you listen to your own body and not what you read and what other people are saying. If you feel, I mean, I have been eating and then after the food, I sat down and meditated and I didn't have any bad effects because of that. I'm not saying you have to do so, but you do as you feel like doing, and then you watch. And if you watch, you see how your body reacts. And maybe there is absolutely no adverse reaction, even if you sit close to having eaten, even if people have said you shouldn't do so. So be careful that you are not producing an adverse effect because you have heard it, you have an adverse effect when then it's happening. So do as you feel like, and then watch your body, and your body tells you what is good for you and what is not good for you.
That sounds good. And I also heard that a saint in India mentioned that he advises that if you're going to meditate for a longer period, to do some nadi shona, because the toxins, he says that often people can meditate for a longer period, you know, like 40 minutes, like an hour or something, the toxins stay in the body for longer. So he recommends usually like maybe 20 minutes yoga and then 20 minutes meditation, and then between the yoga and the meditation, 5 minutes of nadi shona and nadi shona afterwards at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
Not always, but he just says if you're going to meditate for longer periods, the nadi shona is good for detoxing the body.
Mm-hmm.
Is walking, and not that I can walk much at the moment, but sometimes, you know, I can walk 5 minutes twice a day. Could I use walking instead of doing the nadi shodhana? Because it's good for me to get up in between, and if I want to break up 2 meditations with some detox. Does that work as good as nadi shodhana, or what are your thoughts on the whole thing?
Yes, I mean, this saint, he propagated his way, how he felt it was healthy and successful for him. That doesn't mean it has to be the same for anybody. If somebody wants to follow exactly the step that he prescribes, they can do so. But if you feel in between, like getting up and walking, then this is perfectly all right. But actually, don't think that when you meditate long, your toxins stay longer in your body. This is not true. Your meditation, if it comes deeper, you become quite that in itself is purifying for the whole system. It's not that because of your meditation you have in between to detox. But you may feel too much strain to keep on sitting, and then you can do the Narishona if that is something you like to do and you are used to do. But if you feel much more drawn to get up and walk a little, then by all means do so.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Shall we leave it at that?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Wish you well. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hi, Werner.
Hello, Nava.
I wanted to ask you something about what's been happening with my meditation.
Yeah.
The last little while when I sit, I feel like I have so much energy in my body.
Mm-hmm.
It's different than restlessness. It's not something that I'm familiar with. And the same thing happens with my thoughts. I'm used to a lot of thoughts, but this is different. They're very busy, very beady, just like my body. And it's making it difficult to settle down.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do with it.
So this is now basically a condition which is simply there, or you feel that is happening when you are meditating?
During the day, if anything, I'm tired. So it's the opposite. It's not that I have this energy but it's not pleasant.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's not a pleasant energy.
Right, right. Well, there is, of course, also the external influence. There is a lot of tension. Around the world, there is a lot of tension in the atmosphere. So it can influence our body, our mind. The best you do is not to struggle with it, but just see that it is there and center as good as you can and relax as good as you can. How are you meditating right now when you meditate?
An hour or a little bit longer.
I rather mean, if you don't want to talk about it, you need not. But what are you doing when you are meditating?
What do I do when I meditate? Different things, but lately it's been mainly focusing on the breath and focusing on the breath around the nostrils. Right. That's really been the most consistent thing that I've been doing.
Right. And I would recommend that you do what you are doing, continue the same, but at the same time, you make a point to remind you while doing so, relax, 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 relax the rest of the body. Relax when you sit, relax your legs, relax your knees, relax your lower part of the body and then the upper part. You need not make it into an exercise, go from place to place, but just remind yourself while doing that breathing, that conscious breathing, relax, relax. And then that tension, that nervous tension that is a bit there, that comes partly maybe from your subconscious, something working out, and partly being triggered by the intense tension that is in the atmosphere. You can, by consciously including the very reminding yourself of relaxing when doing that conscious breathing, it may help you to just let it go out of the system, or neutralizing it in the system, or transforming it in the system, that the unpleasant energy starts to become a pleasant, peaceful energy.
So you're saying that I should think about relaxing and whatever happens, happens.
Just remind yourself to relax while doing that.
Even though I can't.
Even then you can't. You can give the impulse. When you sit and meditate, and when you start the meditation, you already give the impulse. Just relax. Relax your knees. Are you sitting on a chair or are you sitting on the ground?
No, I'm sitting on a couch cross-legged.
Yeah, cross-legged. And then you focus in between a bit also on your knees. You relax your knees. You give the impulse. Even if you cannot totally relax, it does something. That intent, not being now all strained about relaxing, but the intent is just part of it. That not simply the consciousness and the controlled breathing, but then at the same time, relax, relax, relax. And if you continue giving that impulse, gradually you can more relax, and then that unpleasant energy may somehow disappear or get transformed.
I'm wondering now, as we're talking, if it has anything to do with what I'm doing when I breathe, because this is fairly new for me to be focusing on just on the breath and doing that the whole time. I used to do it part of the time of the meditation, and then I would do other things.
Yes.
And now I'm doing basically nothing else but that.
Yes.
Do you think that could also be connected to what's happening?
It's possible that there is a greater intensity on that level that for sometimes stirs up a little bit something that has been locked in your system, and after some time it will pass away. But it's not the reason why you should stop doing so.
I had, before this happened, there were a few months when I was falling asleep when I meditated every time. This had never happened.
Yeah.
And after a few months, I became aware of something that had happened to me that I had never been aware of.
Yeah.
And when I became aware of it, and I sat with it for about a week, I really calmed down. And once I calmed down, I stopped falling asleep during meditation.
Oh, nice. Great. Yeah.
And then this kicked in. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's connected.
It may be some other thing that, or a series of things. Sometimes it's one event, sometimes it's just an event that has happened maybe early in the life and then has somehow a bit repeated somehow or another again and again and build up some tensions, and then we are not even aware that that whole chain is there. And if you go deeper in your meditation, this kind of stuff comes to the surface and may have such manifestations with getting more nervous energy and stuff. So, but don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
You just go about it and relax as good as you can and see what happens.
Okay, will do.
Very good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to talk? You're welcome.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Lutz.
Yeah, I have a question about relaxation and concentration.
Right.
Your advice is, your basic advice is always center, breathe, relax. And basically, that simple thing is supposed to be it. or at least a first step. Maybe it's a kind of first step in the right direction. So, but my idea of connecting in a bigger way has been always connected with intense concentration. Whenever I really had some sort of breakthrough, and very intense concentration was before. Either I was praying and put my heart really into it and I was completely one-pointed and focused, and then somehow the energy in my body started to move, and eventually I even left my body for a short time, or at least I left the identification with my usual self for a short time. And that always happened after intense concentration. So somehow this concentration seemed to be a very essential kind of gateway to totally letting go. But first super concentration, and then at some moment, I just surrendered to whatever is, but I was still very concentrated, and I let go, and then some kind of boom happened, some kind of light experience or some feeling with some greater me or greater it or whatever, the really good thing.
Yeah.
So, but this concentration has to be really, had to be really very intense, and it was happening only after some time before days or weeks of intense meditation, being with a master, and kind of conducive surrounding, that really a kind of a boom happened. If I just sit here in Berlin during some work and in my usual place, I never managed to get that sort of intensity, to get really something so intense happen on my kind of based on my practice. I mean, it happened as a grace sometimes, out of the blue, more or less. But that doesn't count. I mean, that's some kind of influence from, or at least I felt some kind of somebody else was kind of blessing me in some way. But on my own efforts I feel is very difficult in the usual life and the usual circumstances to kind of build up so much intensity, which seems to be the key for such experience, to be fruitful, to create some deeper experience.
Right.
So my question is, or I'm a little bit wondering why you never, or at least I don't remember that that you mentioned that also an intense concentration is necessary, or maybe it's not necessary. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But for me, spirituality has been mostly kind of trying to get to this point of intensity, then let it happen, and enjoy the boom, and enjoy in normal life the kind of remembrance of the boom, or the aftershock of the boom, or however you want to call it, until somehow the next bang.
Yeah.
So
right. I mean, those booms that you are talking about, they are great, but it's not that to have increased spirituality, you should somehow strive to have more and more booms like this. It's an experience that is inspiring, but what we are looking for is that essence which makes the experience possible. Now, of course, concentration is necessary. I usually don't use the word concentration, but talk about focus, because it has more a relaxed intonation than concentration. Usually when we talk about concentration, then it's always connected with a lot of willpower. And it's not that we have to somehow with willpower break through to ourselves, because you're already yourself. We can with willpower temporarily maybe break through some certain barriers of perception, and then this boom experience may come. And my experience, when I look back, and I see also when I see people who try very strong with will, that goes for some time, and then it's getting too much tension. Maybe you have the grace of a boom, but or then it's getting too much tension and people are ready to break down the house. That somehow through intensely working directly with the willpower. Now, it's first more a matter of being alert, being aware, and learning to relax. And the more you are capable of being aware and relaxed, the more you can also very fruitful include the will and the concentration without building up that tension that somehow becomes unbearable and has often also rather negative effects. So willpower has its turn. Concentration is necessary from the beginning, but I rather talk about focusing than concentrating, so that I don't bring in that connotation of using so much willpower. The willpower is more to keep us inspired to keep going than using it directly until we are capable of really, at the same time that we're using the will and concentrating, can relax, and then it can go very, very deep. Everybody, of course, is different, and you had your own way, your own approach. But again, I say, it's not somehow that you should aspire to have just more booms, but be alert here now, in touch with yourself, no matter what you are doing, when you are concentrating strongly and when you are not concentrating strongly.
Yeah, my teacher also talks about focus rather than concentration. Yeah. I just out of habit I use the word concentration, and I fully understand that it's in the German language, or at least the word concentration is usually associated also with some intense, I really want to do something. And yeah, that is not here useful, this attitude. But for me, at least at the stage I am, these kind of booms are very important, because they are an incentive to do something. And also usually they are accompanied by some what we call in our practice process. That means if you let more light in, then also more shit boils up. Yeah. So naturally, too many booms also create a lot of problems from dark stuff we carry in ourselves. So there's some kind of natural kind of balance of not wanting to have too many booms, because booms also means expansion, more light, but more light means also looking more at the problematic sides, problematic things inside. So that all has to have some kind of how to say, there's some natural break in it, not to do it too much.
Yeah. I'm not telling you should not more go for your booms. But what I'm basically telling is that you can let the light in all the time, even if there is no boom, just by being connected in the present and by relaxing in that. And of course, that the very conscious relaxing is already a focus of the attention in the present moment, instead of being all over the place with our thoughts. To consciously relax means to be in the present, to be conscious. So it's a sort of concentration, but I'm not using that word, but rather focus in to be consciously in the present. And then even when there is no special boom, it's opening to the light and the light flows. So you can do both. Go for your booms and also open to be alert and open for the light in your normal day-to-day life.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that anyway, but for me at least it can be also somewhat yeah, I'm a little bit lazy, so get, if I'm just accepting everything as it is, I also I feel I'm not getting, I'm not expanding, I'm not moving forward. I start to make my life comfortable. I just want to stay as I am. Yeah, relaxation, little meditation, wonderful. But basically, I want to stay as I am. Whereas if I now and then go to some retreats or just by myself do some intense meditation, then usually there's there starts to be some movement. I'm getting really alive. Before I'm pretending to be alive in a way. I just want to be comfortable wherever I'm in. But I know that this is dangerous. I'm just getting old that way.
Yes, okay. By all means, go to your retreat and have your intense periods. Being really alert and really connecting is actually very intense. It's we can of course fool ourselves. I'm reasonably conscious, reasonably alert, but actually there are just little moments, and most of the time we just let go, roaming our attention and mind all over the place. But to connect in the present produces automatically a tremendous intensity.
Yeah, I think I haven't learned yet to have this intensity just all the time.
Yes.
Or maybe also I don't want it. Maybe that's also maybe that's then uncomfortable again. Because if it is like you say, then the more light comes in, and then also more stuff comes up, and I'm maybe more challenged than I want to be. That's maybe the reason why I don't want to be super alert all the time. Maybe it's just some talk.
Anyhow, you find your way in your own flavor. That's fine. Just keep at it and be as alert as you can. And then it's perfectly all right in between to have more intense periods, to go in retreat with a group, to make retreats by yourself, be more intense, and then just try to bring as much of it, that intensity in your day-to-day life as you can. Shall we leave it at that?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Is there anybody else who would like to say some more thing? We can. There's some more time.
Hi.
Hello.
Can you hear
it's
me?
Andreas. Yes, hello,
Yeah.
Andreas.
Hi. Is there any way to, I thought to get more intensity means to me to be more aware, to have more mindfulness, and to cultivate mindfulness. But what was to do meditation practice. Mm-hmm. Is there a misunderstanding in that?
There is not a misunderstanding, but it's not like more meditation for everybody, more meditation, more mindfulness, more meditation, more mindfulness. It's more that you learn to remind yourself to be alert. Instead, when you become aware, you are not very alert, whether you are meditating or whether you are walking out in the garden, that you are just, when you become aware, you are not very mindful. Then you are not very alert, that you remind yourself to be alert here now. And a regular meditation practice helps, of course, to be more conscious. And for some people, it's very helpful to increase that meditation time and increase that meditation time. But for some people, that would not work at all because it's not their natural way to go about it. And if they force themselves to meditate more and meditate more, then there is also a negative aspect in it that is not healthy.
If I'm in my usual state of mind, I feel like my alertness is, or my mindfulness is kind of shallow.
Mm-hmm.
That like my breathing is not very deep, and like my mind is always remains always busy with some things.
Mm-hmm.
So I find myself being much more mindful or when I have meditated.
Yes, sure. It has that effect, and that's also the point of it. But then when you become aware in your not official meditating time that that mindfulness is a bit shallow, you can either simply accept, okay, that's how it is when I'm not meditating, or you can remind yourself, all right, now, in spite of not being in my official meditation practice, I can bring my attention more intensely to the present and be conscious, consciously conscious, no matter what you are doing. You can just resign yourself, okay, when I'm not meditating, my mindfulness is not very deep. Or you can tell yourself, okay, every time I become aware that I'm a bit floating in rather shallow waters, then I bring consciously the attention home and make my experience more intense right now, at least for a moment.
Okay, I try.
Yes, you're welcome to do so. Both is helping each other. To meditate definitely creates more insight, more alertness. But then if you bring that alertness as good as you can in your not practicing time, that helps also to become again even more alert in your meditation.
Should I try to deepen my breathing when I'm in my daily life?
It's not that you should start to control your breathing, but if you are aware of the breathing, actually it's deepening all by itself without an effort. Most of the time, people breathing very superficially shallow, and when you put the attention there without wanting to control it, automatically it's getting deeper. So you don't need to control your breathing. There is a possibility to do so, but then that's in itself a whole approach. And I don't tell you you should start to control your breathing. Just breathe consciously. Automatically, you will start to breathe gentler and deeper.
Yesterday, I was walking in the woods and I was there was a nervous energy there. And I didn't know what to do. Like I was aware of it, but I couldn't relax into it somehow. It always remained. I just noticed it without being able to relax.
Yeah, you thought the nervous energy was in your experience, or it was there in the place?
It was in my experience.
Ah, yes. And sometimes something comes up and we can watch it and we can relax and it simply doesn't go, but eventually it still goes. But sometimes you watch it and immediately it starts to change and it goes away. But even when it doesn't go away, don't think that that time was not well used, that you sort of wasted your effort because it didn't have an effect. The very fact that you felt that nervous energies were conscious of it, because we can be very nervous and be not conscious that we are very tense and nervous. But to be conscious of it and not being attached to it, but rather attempt, give the impulse to let it go, to relax. that is doing something even if you don't see immediately the fruits. So actually, you did a good job being aware of it, and you need not think something didn't go right, otherwise I would have had to go. Sometimes stuff comes up that is very strong and has roots deep in the subconscious, and it may take some time of watching, of working on it until it starts to reduce.
Yeah, usually this kind of energy comes up if I'm facing something new.
Mm-hmm.
It's something, yeah, being afraid of uncontrollable circumstances and new environments.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Shall we leave it at that?
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hariyo.
How are
Hariyo.
you?
Hariyo. All right, my friends. We're coming to the end of the satsang. No matter how we are approaching, it comes to the same. Whether we are doing intense practices in between as retreats, whether we are doing daily quite intense practices, whether it's varying, practice like that, it's very helpful to regularly practice something, but it's also helpful to be more and more relaxed in it. Relaxed doesn't mean to become lazy. Relaxed means relaxed. And the more we are capable of being relaxed in the intensity, the more we learn to connect with that intensity throughout the day. Whether we are in an intense external period or not. It's both the impulse to keep going, the impulse to remind ourselves to be sincere about it. Sometimes we may make a strain a moment just to bring the attention to the present, but then relax. And the more we are capable of relaxing in that intensity, the more naturally it becomes to be in touch with that all the time. The mind will still go away, but then you become aware and you need not make a big effort. You just relax and there you are again. I wish you all well. Hariom. Hariom. Hariom.